I'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast. And wow. So Cheryl and I today, I thought about doing the podcast just on my own, but I don't think I was going to do it. I don't think it's just that interesting if it's just one person, especially if it's me. Anyways, um, yesterday was just speechless. Oh, that's the thing we missed in the coffee connection is our one word. Ugh, hate that. If we'd have gone around the whole thing and everybody did their one word, man, that would have blown people's minds. Like it was interesting to see Marcus's wife kind of sitting on the fringes.
Uh-huh.
It was interesting when you and I were talking, and then Shelley was and Elaine was beside me, I believe. It was you and Elaine, and then Shelley was there, and it's interesting on how attentive, like I'd love to have her and just say, Shelley, what were you thinking? Like the whole time.
Right.
So it's interesting on coffee, on when I was meeting with Mel and uh, Melvin, and then Norman on Thursday when we got together,
Oh, uh-huh.
Mercantile, and then there was a black pastor from Chicago, was there, uh, Pastor G, and then he brought his driver, I think, or his helper or something. And
Hmm.
Mel's known this black pastor for 35 years, 40 years, 38 years.
You have.
No, Mel did.
Oh, okay.
And it was just like it overwhelmed my senses. That
Mhm.
whole that whole thing. And then Coffee Connection yesterday just took it in. And then attending Blue Gate last night, it's like, oh my goodness. Like I
Yeah.
was so tired. I was so tired Friday night. Like at 8 o'clock, I say to Roseanne, I say, 1 to 10, how'd your interest in the date night tonight? And she says an 8. I'm like, she's like 8. I'm like, okay. Is it okay if we move it from Friday night to Saturday? That was like at 8 o'clock, and I didn't get finished doing stuff until 10:30. Some, it's just like, I was so tired. And what's weird is I didn't go ahead and all the work I did on Friday night, I didn't use any of it. I mean, nothing on the Coffee Connection.
Uh-huh.
And then last night we're driving home and it's like 8 o'clock. And I'm like, so do you want to do day night tonight? She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. It's like you. I'm like, it's up to you. And she's like, maybe like I'm fine with tomorrow. I'm like, okay. Like, and then today I don't know what's gonna happen today. Like Kenny asked, do you wanna go out on the pontoon boat? And like not after the last 3 days, like I'm exhausted. It's like, okay. But then I'm like, well, the grandkids would like it. So it's almost like I need to like it was interesting on Thursday. I gave something to Mel because he hasn't been there for a while. Like after I go to Blue Gate, I think of Mel in a different way.
Why?
Because how's a young Amish kid put all that together?
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I'm not really enamored, by stars, and like I wondered a few years ago why people, you know, like Taylor Swift and all these other stars, why people follow them. And I think I realized that they live vicariously through the stars.
Uh-huh.
To me, it's kind of goofy. Why don't you live your own life? But that procrastination video, so powerful. Like, oh my goodness. That thing is just like when he says, like, people are a spectator in their own lives. Like this one here, like that procrastination video. And it's like you're a spectator in your own life. So we, had the dinner package. So we went to the John Christ, which was just mind numbing to me. Then we went and had the buffet afterwards, and like Marla said, like I wonder if somebody asked me how this day, did this change, did this show, did this go ahead and change my life forever? And she says, I wonder what I'll say. Like, I don't know if anybody's ever done that before in my life. I don't know that anybody's ever said that to me. Like, people are going, people are going to be entertained.
Right.
But are they going to have their life changed forever, or is it just entertainment? And they go from one entertainment to another entertainment to another entertainment to another entertainment. One dopamine hit, another dopamine hit. They keep going, dopamine after dopamine. And it's like, so that triggers, the addiction, the addiction video, which is just, it was like, this thing's insane. One of Rosanna's counselors introduced me to this video, and it's like, holy cow. And it's almost like it's just weird. And that triggers like addictions. And it's like I've got people in my life that I'm pretty sure are not alcoholics and pretty sure are not drug addicts, but they're still addicted.
Right.
They're addicted to their own feelings. Like their own feelings. And I'm like, it's just weird. And then I try to go ahead and, there's 1,500 people. This whole place is sold out. And it's like, it's just packed. And I think about the work that has to go into that, like every performance.
Hmm.
And then I see all the guitars that are signed by all these stars and all these pictures. And I think, like, how many, like, did you just get your first star and you just put it up there and just kept adding to it? Or did you have 10? Like, I have all these questions.
We'll ask to meet Mel there next time.
Well, he said he's going to be there. And somebody later said, why don't you text him? Hey, Mel, I'm not seeing you. He said, I might see you there. So he took John's parents out to eat or something like that.
Okay.
So he and his wife would hang out with the stars a lot. They'd take him out to eat. And so he talked about the whole experience. He talked about the entire experience. He's like, it's the experience and of the artist.
Mm-hmm.
got some of the top artists like Shipshi is not like it's not like Vegas. Like it's like when these artists go ahead and hear it, like Shipshewana, like what is that? Is it like an Indian village or what? Like and no, it's in Indiana. What's in Indiana? And Shipshi. Like, and so he says so many of the artists have come because word of mouth, like people say, if you can ever go there, man, are you going to be treated well? So it's like he's focused on that triggers something where when Ginger Ann was pregnant, with Daniel, the first one, and so it's the first grandchild, and I asked a whole bunch of men for suggestions and ideas on what it would be like to be like. What suggestions do you have to give me that would help me to be an amazing grandfather? And Tom Coons, some of the feedback I got from that was just amazing. And Tom Coons says, don't focus on your grandchildren, focus on your daughter and son-in-law. Look at them. See how it impacts them. I could go on for, I bet you I could go on for 4 hours. Just talk, just everything's interconnected. Everything's like Marla, she went to the Surge event, Life Surge event, and she'd never seen anything like that before.
Uh-huh.
Like overwhelming to your senses. There's so many people and so much going on, and it's like your whole brain is just like, whoa, what is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
So why did you show up today?
Why did I show up today?
Yeah.
See what I could learn, I guess. I don't know.
So I said to Marla and Kenny, well, I said to, so Marla and Kenny and Jason and Melissa, and Roseanne and I and Norman, and then Lauren, Jason's other brother. He didn't come to the buffet, but he didn't come to the buffet, but he came to but he went to the show. And so I said, so Marla was sitting next to me, and then Kenny, and I said, I think I take things too far at times. And Kenny's like, you think? So like you and Marla, I don't know, how to process you both. I don't know how to, I feel bad.
Why? That you don't know how to process us? Why don't you know how to process us?
Because like you create curiosity and you create intrigue, and Elaine does too.
Okay.
So I feel that like you were frustrated with me yesterday. I'm like, I don't know how to process that.
I wasn't frustrated with you, or I don't think I was. When I told you you're not,
What's that?
when I told you that you're not listening to me
Paying attention, I think you said.
or paying attention. Yeah. Okay. No, I
Well,
was.
just the whole thing is it's like that triggers something else. Like Patrick Ryan, I play pickleball with him. He's an attorney, and he said that in a lawsuit, like he said, like I don't know, he just kind of was drawn to me, and He's like, you're a hard one to figure out. I'm like, okay. And so, like, he's got something to an apology, a pathway to, you'd enjoy it a lot. And but he says, in a lawsuit, Mark, if it doesn't matter if somebody wins or loses, if they don't feel heard, even if they win the lawsuit, but they don't feel heard, they're going to hold on to that.
Mm. Yeah.
So it was interesting on Thursday. So I gave something to Mel. So it's like I'm always giving them a book that I'm writing, but I'm not finishing. Like, it was interesting with Clean Windows. Like, Elaine didn't read the Clean Windows book. She was waiting for me to finish it. I'm like, well, I'm not going to finish it. If somebody doesn't get through the first chapter, what good's the rest of it? So because she didn't read it, I didn't finish writing it, which is fine. And then Mel and Alvin, the same thing. Like, they didn't want to hurt my feelings. And Mel's like, well, yeah, I was busy or something. I'm like, well, but you started it. He's like, yeah. I said, well, it wasn't interesting enough where you couldn't put it down. It's like, well, okay. Like, which it's weird because people think like I internalize things, that I don't. And then they don't think I internalize things that I do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was so cute. I think it's okay to share. Like, so I made a mistake, Cheryl. Well, I think you were on that email, right? Where I made a mistake. So I made a mistake and I said, Jerry Lambright.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yep. I remember that one.
So it was weird when I got that from Kenny. I'm like, that's kind of weird. Like, I don't understand. Like, that's just kind of goofy. But I'm like, I'll go and play along. I don't know. It's just kind of weird to me. Like, it's just weird. So they're out here, they're working. And so, so I guess she's coming over every Friday. So Marla, like, she wants to feel needed. And she doesn't feel like she's helping people or needed.
Okay.
And it's like, huh. So anyways, so she's coming over Friday. Kenny was over, Junior was over there working on a bunch of stuff for the 19th. And so I go outside and I say, hey, thanks, Marla. And she's like, for what? I said, for covering for me. She's like, what do you mean? I said, well, when I missed, it was Jeremy, not Jerry Lambright. You said, well, if you're talking Jeremy Lambright, yeah, I got that covered. And so she just, like, I made a mistake. She didn't ask. She just said, hey, this is probably what Mark's talking about. And she was right. So, I didn't even think anything of it.
Right.
And so I go out there and so I thanked her. I said, thanks. Kenny's being, excuse the language, but he's kind of being a butthead, like, it's like, really, is that big? I don't know, whatever. And so I said, thanks to Marla. I said, thanks. And I said, for covering for me. And I said, I don't know what happened after that. Everything went crazy. And Kenny's laughing. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not understanding it. And he said, Marla's the one that told me about it. Like, what Kenny wrote is what Marla talked. It wasn't Kenny speaking, it was Marla. Like, I'm thinking Marla's got my back, but she's stabbing me in the back. But she's a woman, so it's okay. Like, it's okay because it's weird though. I'm like, that's weird. Like, well, why wouldn't she write it rather than Kenny? I'm like, I don't understand. Well, okay, I mean, it was fine. I don't care. It's kind of funny. Like, Like it was funny, but it was weird. Like, why didn't she just write it? And Kenny's like raising his like just like this. He's like, I know, I know, I know. And and she's like, okay. Like she gave him permission to speak. Like he needs permission to speak from her, which happened last night at dinner too. Like he's he's so cautious around her
Why?
because that's how men are. They're afraid of saying something wrong that they're going to get in trouble from their girlfriend or their wife or their sister or daughter or something. Men are just always on edge. I'm not saying all men. Some men are just stupid, you know, but they're super sensitive. Men are super, super, super sensitive. Women don't understand it. Women get all the credit for being sensitive, but they're really not. I mean, they're just not sensitive. I mean, they're sensitive to like Teresa Lecken. Like she's the first one to introduce that. I really got like she read this book about sensitivity and she's, she's thinking she's very sensitive. Like and so her friendship and mine is just weird. It's just a weird friendship. It's like we've known each other, I don't know, 10 years, 15 years, and she came on. Well, I actually interviewed her for one of our clients for a job.
Okay.
And it wasn't a best fit. The client said, yeah, no, I don't think. I said, can I pursue her? And they're like, yeah, sure. So I pursued her and then she became an EVA. But the first conversation, she loved me. I mean, man, did she love talking to me. And then the second one, she really loved that one too. And then the third one, halfway through, she said, what you just said is borderline abusive. And I'm like,
Okay.
that's what I said. I'm like, okay, sorry. And then, so then I'm just like, okay. And then I don't know, we hung up. And then I don't know, a month or two later, she called me. And I'm like, that's weird. Like, if you're a woman, and I didn't know if I wanted to even be around her. I'm like, when a woman accuses a man of something abusive or whatever, he's guilty until proven innocent. And sometimes he's always guilty. It doesn't matter. Even if he's proven it doesn't matter. Anyways, another story. And I'm like, why is she calling me? Like, if she thinks I'm abusive to her, I don't understand. I don't understand. Like, it's
Right.
weird. Like, why would you want to be around an abusive man? Like, I don't know. She's pursuing me. I'm not pursuing her. And then all of a sudden we start talking and she decides to become an EVA. Oh my gracious, did I hate working with her? Oh, it was terrible. Like
Why?
her life purpose was to fix Mark. Now, I'm not saying this is not every woman's goal is to fix me. It probably is. It's wired in a woman to fix men. It just is. I mean, there's a lot of men out there that their purpose in life is to fix me, which I feel bad for them. I'm like, I mean, I guess if you were created to fix me, I guess it's okay. I mean, I don't know. It would seem like that might be a little narrow of a focus, but I'm very blessed that so many people want to fix me. So I just hated working with her. I just hated it. She just always fighting against me. And it's just like, Urgh. And so, but we survived and she would come to our birthday parties for the kids and, showers and stuff. And so she lives in Indiana. She lives in Indiana. I forget where, but about 2 hours from where we're at now. So it's right by the Illinois border. So she'd come like, an hour and a half to Illinois to come to a party for, something, our family stuff. So she's kind of included in the family. And then she left being an EVA and started her own design company, like landscape design, landscape architecture.
Okay.
And she's had a lot of success. So I don't know. It's probably been 15 years that we've known each other, I'm guessing. And she came to the last event. And she actually gave a lot of input on the, on the property. Like I'd call her up and, hey, what's this and stuff like that. So she's very gracious. But she said once to me, she said, um, I'm reading this book on sensitivity. I'm like, okay. And she says, it's really helping me. I'm like, okay. I said, did it teach you that you're just sensitive about your own sensitivities? You're not sensitive at all to me? She's like, no. Like, I don't understand why people don't like me, Cheryl. Like, I don't like she's not sensitive. Like, I know when I'm going to irritate her. I know when I'm going to irritate everyone. Maybe that's what frustrates me about you and Marla. Like, I can't read you. I don't know what irritates you guys. So most of the time when I'm irritating somebody, I know I'm irritating. I mean, I have social autism, so I can always fall back on that and say, I don't really know, you know? And so, but then I realize I'm like, oh my gracious, Teresa's like every other woman. And so all the pastors from the front of the pulpit go ahead and tell how amazing women are, and women do this and women do this and women do this and this. And so they seduce all the women into the church. And on Mother's Day, it's so cute and everything. On Father's Day, it's like beat the crap out of the guy, which I'm not saying is the wrong thing. I think men need to have that kind of thing. But I think it's sad that women don't realize how sensitive men are. My mom understood how sensitive I was, but not very many women know that. I don't know that my wife does. I don't know that my girls do.
Right.
So it's like, here's the podcast for women. So we've got a podcast, just like we do for men. So we've got a podcast. Obviously, women come before men; they always do. And like, it's weird at Lifetime Fitness in Chicago, like when they were, when they were, when they were rehabbing the men's bathrooms, and the shower rooms and everything. When they're rehabbing the shower rooms, where did the men go? Nowhere. They had to shower at home. When they were rehabbing the women's showers, where did the women go? They used the men's shower. Like, which I'm fine with. I think that's a good thing. I think that's admirable. Like, I have no problem at all with that. I think, yeah, that's fine. But it's weird because it's not like, it's just like, do the women go ahead and even appreciate that? And the irony and the irony. Wait a minute here. Like, wait just a minute here. Like, wait a minute. What are you like? This is just like, I don't have a problem doing it, but women don't appreciate it. Like, they're not saying, wow, we shouldn't have this. Like, we want to be strong, independent women. We don't, like, they're not saying any of that. They're just like, oh, it's convenient. Men will just give it up. It's like, and none of the men said anything except me. I said something leadership. I said, I don't have a problem. See, they went ahead and the water fountain, the drinking fountain outside of the gym. So I'd go there 3 days a week to play basketball. And I love cold water. Like, that was the hardest thing of Russia. When Ginger Ann and I went to Russia, I went like, I don't know, 8 days without cold water, like ice. They didn't have any ice. Oh, it was traumatic. I mean, that's the problem. That's the problem with women. They can have trauma about everything. Doesn't matter what it is. It's all okay. Like, but me, my trauma, like, women just laugh at it, which is fine. Like, I think laughter is good medicine. And so anyways, so they didn't have cold water. Like, the drinking fountain was broken. I mean, you could drink, but it wasn't cold. This is an issue. I mean, I'm paying, I don't know, $150 a month or whatever it was for the whole family. And it's like, and I didn't have. And so, like, I call the manager and he says, yeah, it's going to be fixed. And it doesn't get fixed. And I'm like, it kind of irritates me. Like, well, get it fixed. And then he's giving me some excuse. Like, he's giving me excuse. Well, we're redoing all the men's. And it's like, and then we're redoing all the women's. Yeah, but the women are using the men. It irritated me. And then he lied to me. And so they gave me a whole year free membership because there wasn't cold water. Anyways, going back, like my kids are like, no way, Dad. I'm like, no way. This is what it's going to do. They're going to give me a whole year free membership. This might be what Marlo is talking about. So Kenny's raising his hand. She gives him permission to talk. So he's like, I know why she gave why. So Marlo went ahead and had Kenny write what she wanted to write, but she didn't write. So she got him to do, her dirty work. So she looked good. He'd irritate. It's like, I don't know, whatever. And when he's raising his hand, why he's doing it, and he's like, because she's afraid of you.
What?
That's what she said. That's what he said. He's like, she's afraid of you. And I'm like, okay, why are you afraid of me? She's like, because you can do your stuff to people.
What stuff?
That's what I'm saying. That's my stuff. I think of people going up at Coffee Connection. See that guy over there? Yep, that's Mark. Yep, be careful about him. Why? He's got stuff. What stuff? You don't even ask. Like, and so, and I'm like, and Junior was standing there, so he's Amish, and he's worked around the property a lot. And then, I'm like, you're afraid? Why? She's like, well, you're my boss, and so you can fire me, which is not the case because she's an EVA. Like, I can't fire her. I mean, for sure, I'm her first client, but she's got so much value. Like, she doesn't have to work with me. There's a lot of everybody else. And I asked her, I said, so 1 to 10, how much do you fear me? And she said a 7. I'm like, okay. I'm like, do you fear Kenny? And she's like, yeah. I said, how much do you fear him? Do you fear him? And she's like, yeah, a little bit, like some 3. So that's okay, a 3, but yeah, not more than a 3. I'm like, okay. So how much should you fear me? Well, probably a 3. She says, you wouldn't like me though if I feared you at a 3. Like, why not? She's because, you know, I, you know, I don't know, something about sassy maybe. Like she'd sass me, she'd challenge me. But I like women, like a lot of strong women, men don't like strong women. They just don't.
Right.
Maybe like my mom, one of the gifts she gave me, she was strong. Holy cow, was she strong? And I love strong women. They're amazing. And so I think a lot of men are intimidated by strong women. I think they're funny. I think it's cool. So there's women, and then there's young women, and then there's men and young men. Maybe just to irritate women, I'll go and put the men above the women. Like that might irritate them. So like, what? Why are you laughing?
Why would you want to just on purpose irritate him?
Because they don't get irritated. They irritate the living daylights out of men,
Okay.
and men just put up with it.
That's their own fault.
Right? That's what I'm saying. That's right. So I'm not going to be like most men. I'm just going to irritate women back. You irritate me, I'll irritate you. I'll do my stuff on you. Think what's your stuff? Don't even if you don't know this stuff, you just want to fear it. You don't fear it at a 7, fear it at a 9. Like Jason, like we're at the dinner last night, and we say this where we read because it's like why would she be fear? I don't even know if is that good or not good. I love working with her, so maybe that's why. Maybe I don't want her to go. Maybe I want her to be at a 7. Maybe everybody should be at a 7 because then she's actually nice and responsive rather than, sassy and mean. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so, do you have anything?
No.
just a few months ago, I realized that I think most of the time that Rosanna gets mad at me, she's actually not getting mad at me. She's getting mad at others. Like she's mad at the kids or her parents or somebody other than me. She just takes it out on me.
Okay, so how does that make you feel?
Well, again, I didn't know feelings were important until, a year ago.
How did you not know that?
I mean, they teach it to men. Like in the hospital, like when I was born, um, one of the nurses, like I was like as soon as I was separated from my mom, one of the nurses started talking to me and she's like, Mark, you need to understand something. I'm like an hour old. She's like, as a man, your feelings don't matter. And I'm like, I'm an hour old. Like, come on. And she's like, so and then I don't know, like it's probably some protocol in a hospital, I'm guessing. They like every boy that's born, the nurses come up and say, your feelings don't matter. And then your mom takes it over, and then you have sisters, and that takes it over. And so your grandmother, like Jonathan, he was like 9 years old. And so 9-year-old boys, they can be a little bit of they can be a little stuff. And
Mhm.
and Rosanna's mom and Rosanna would like Jonathan would mistreat Rosanna because Rosanna didn't know how to put bound. She wasn't like a mom, she was like a sister or something. And so she wouldn't whack him upside the head. Like, dude, I brought you into this world, I can take you out. Like she wouldn't do that. And so her mom jumped in and they double teamed Jonathan. This is not a fair fight for the two women.
Right?
See, you understand these things. Most women don't. So I'm like, this is not healthy. This is not healthy at all. This isn't healthy. And so I go to her, Rosanna's dad, and I said, hey, do you see what mom's doing? Like she and Rosanna are ganging up on Jonathan. He's 9. This is not going to go well. Like it's not healthy. And he's like,
Mhm.
yeah, I get it. I see it. But she won't listen to me. But see, like John Chris last night, he's like my brain, like it functions different. Like I think these thoughts and I'm willing to say these thoughts that nobody else is willing to say. Like you're driving along the road and you see a biker and you just hit him. Like, and everybody starts laughing. Like he says, see, I have these thoughts that come into my mind. And so I have these thoughts that come into my mind. Like Kevin King, he went ahead and his first person that said, Mark, you'd make a great comedian. Now, women, nice wives, like everybody thinks Rosanna's a nice wife. She's not. She's mean and nasty.
Okay.
See, it's weird. Like no, most of the time, like this is what my feelings don't matter. I'm like, I'm not laughing. I'm like, my wife is mean and nasty. What do? You laugh because my feelings don't matter. Thank you for validating. Like my feelings don't matter. And you're laughing now. Like this, when I go ahead and talk about trauma in my life, everybody laughs. Like all the women.
No, I guess I'm not laughing at you. And yes, your feelings matter. I'm laughing
No,
because I just I don't see that. But I guess I'm not around you.
no. But even when I tell you how she's mean and nasty to me, like mean and nasty and beat me down, like even when I tell you, you'll laugh. Like I give you an example and you'll laugh. You'll just go, that's funny. And it's like, because women can't feel what men can feel. They can't feel, they don't understand men. and they don't even try. Like when I was a teenage boy, obviously I was very interested in women and physical of women. So I see an attractive woman, I'm like, whoa, that. And then you look at women's magazine, like in men's magazines, there's, scantily clad, they're naked women. That makes sense to me. Like that makes sense. Like I can see why that would be true. In women's magazines, what do they have in there? Scantily clad women. Now, this didn't make any sense to me as a teenage boy. Like, like, men, I can see why men are attracted. Like men are very interested. They study women. Like they're very interested, but women aren't interested in men. They're just interested they're interested in women. And it's like, why are they interested in how women look? Like it doesn't make any sense. Like why don't you put attractive men in women's magazines? It's like everybody's interested in women, nobody's interested in men. You learn this. Like when I don't know, 3 hours after I came in, like after I came into the world, the first nurse says your feelings don't matter. I'm like, okay, I'm 1 year old. I mean, think about a boy, little baby boy that's 1 year old, and the nurse is telling him this. Like, think about what that does to him. And then, like an hour later, another nurse comes in and says, everybody's interested in women, nobody's interested in men. I mean, this is like I have thoughts that come to my mind, and it's like Kevin King said, you'd make a great comedian. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. I'm like, I don't think so. He said, no, you'd make a great comedian. I'm like, why? He's like, because you're willing to say things that nobody else is willing to say, but they think it. But a lot of the things people don't think what you think too. But it's true. Like my mom, like she's dying, literally. She's got stage 4 cancer, and she's got a tumor in her stomach, and she's dying. And I'd be like, after my dad died, and she and I would hang out and do a date, every week, and we're talking and stuff. And I'd be like, man, women bug me. And she's like, what do you mean? And I said, and I explained something about women to her, and she's like, women aren't like that. She like, mom, you're dying. You have cancer. Like, mom, like, stop it. Like, and I'd be like laughing at her when she's all mad at me. Like she's all angry with me because I'm telling her the truth about women. What kind of a son does that? Like someone who has social autism. Like there's so much evidence that I have social autism, but do I go ahead and get any special privileges? I don't. So I have a nephew who has Williamson syndrome. Are you familiar with Williamson? Yeah.
Yes.
And so like when he became like he was like he's like 23, 24, 25 now. But when he was like a teenage boy, he was very interested in women. Like boys are. And he would, because Williamson, he just goes up and talks to anybody. And so you could kind of tell there's something different, but you weren't really sure. So most of the time, and he likes to touch. So a 16-year-old boy touching a woman that's, you can't do that, buddy. Like, this is not something you can do. This won't go good for you. So his mom and dad did a great job with him. They have, there's universities that bring him in and study him and the parents and stuff, because they've done a great job with him. But then there'd be some really cute girls, and he liked the attractive ones too. Huh? Like, And so he'd go up and, he'd hug them or talk to them or whatever. And, and then these teenage girls sometimes would mock him. And his dad, my brother, Dan, he'd like you a lot. You'd like him. He's an interesting guy. Anyways, he would go ahead and he felt bad for his son for being mocked. And then he thought, well, the joke's on the girls. AJ doesn't care.
Right.
So these cute girls are like, we'll mock you. Like, we'll show you tricks on you girls. He doesn't care. I'm like, ooh, that would be a great gift that every man could have. So I absorbed that gift. Like that. So I took on that gift, and it's like, you're cute. Okay. I don't care. Like, so my mind goes in all different places. Oh, you wanted to know how my wife is so mean and cruel to me. And do you know how much an economic engine means to a man?
No.
Yeah. See, you're a weird woman. You're just weird. You're just weird. Totally weird. Like, it's just, you are. So yesterday we're talking with Norman, and I don't know, somehow this subject comes up, which it frequently does, where I had a twin sister in the womb.
You did.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And I absorbed her.
Okay.
It's a thing. You can research it. You can say twins in the womb absorbing. Melissa, being the insensitive daughter she is, she starts laughing and she's like, that's not a true thing. Like, she's got no heart. See, you probably had a twin brother in the womb. You probably absorbed him.
Not that I know of.
Well, no, you wouldn't know these things. You did it sooner than, the ultrasound could even show or whatever. So that's what Melissa said. She's like, his mom is dead. You can't. Like, what kind of cruel person says that? She knows how much my mom means to me. And she's like, Mark's mom, dad's mom is dead. We can't verify it. Like, everybody wants to fact check me. It's like, really? Like, and so see, the reason you're so different from women, most women say, oh, I understand. It's like, no, you don't understand. Like, no, you don't understand.
No, I don't.
No, you don't. And this is what's amazing to you as a woman. You actually know that. You actually, like, it's like a woman who actually goes ahead, no, I don't understand. It's like, wow. Like, women understand men and they understand women. Men don't understand men. Men don't understand women. Women are smart and men are clueless. Like, like, that's the third day that the nurse, like, third hour, the nurse comes in and says, Mark, like, these are all the things that the nurses at the hospital teach little boys. They just do. Like, Marla was over here. She was on the couch and observing things. And then Merle, who's, John Miller's son, he's 18. And he was over here, or 16, 17. And he's over here. And I said to Marla, I said, yeah, my feelings don't matter. As a man, they don't matter. And she's like, what? I said, yeah, no, they don't matter. She's like, she never thought about that. Why? Because she's a woman. She's a girl. She didn't know. Like, she doesn't even remember the first hour after her birth, a nurse coming into her and saying, that's why they have nurses and not doctors. That's why they have women dealing with all the children, so the women can brainwash all the men. Your feelings don't matter, and then lift up all the women. And so the first hour for a woman, for a girl, is like, your feelings matter, men's don't. You know everything, they don't know anything. You understand yourself and them, and they understand nothing. They don't understand men. It's like these nurses. These nurses. Hey, and it's so you understand, but you don't understand how much an economic engine means to a man. Like, it's probably the number one thing for manliness.
Okay.
So this is why in a marriage, like, a woman is more vulnerable in a marriage. That my mom said that. Like, it was weird. Like, I think I might have been married. And she said, Mark, in a marriage, a woman is much more vulnerable to a man than a man is to a woman. I'm not sure that's the case, actually, but let's just go with it. I'm like, huh. And so why? Because a man gets most of his confidence or identity through his work, his ability to produce something and make money and provide for the family. A woman's identity will come largely through a relationship. So if the marriage is going down, the husband's better able to handle it often than the wife, because he's got identity in his work. If he's making money, if he's being okay there. But the wife, even if she's got a job, even if she's working outside, the marriage means more to a woman than it does a man. Now, this is not, I'm not saying 100% of men. I'm not saying 100, I mean, there might be others listening to podcasts that might go ahead and, so you understand, like you and I, because you absorbed your twin brother. So this is why you and I can connect. You're still a woman, I'm still a man, but anyways, so I'm getting to the traumatic part. Try not to laugh, okay? Because you said do you think my feelings are important or not?
Yes, they are.
Okay, you say that with a lot of authority. See, I don't think they are even now. I did an experiment when my brother and Ken and my son Ben said, Dad, Mark, your feelings are important. So I did an experiment for a year. They're not important. They're really not. When I say they're not important, I don't mean they're not valuable. They're valuable, but they reveal things that people don't even know. Women don't understand this. Your feelings reveal more about you as a person than they reveal about somebody else. See, most people think that their feelings reveal things about other people, but it doesn't. It reveals things about ourselves. Our feelings reveal things about ourselves, not about other people.
Okay.
And people don't. Yeah. So there's in the quantum feeling models, these are the feelings of entitlement, self-righteousness, and victimhood. Women are experts in these three things. I mean, you can see it with Marla. She wants to go, so she has feelings, fear, she has whatever pent up, and she dishes them over to Kenny, and Kenny goes ahead and then does the dirty work, and he calls me out on a mistake I make. She looks good. He's irritated. I'm irritated. Whatever. It's like, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like, who does that? But it was funny. So I thought it was funny. And so then after the whole thing happened, I said, I wonder if Marla did all this on purpose. And Kenny's like, what? I said, yeah, I wonder if she set the whole thing up. And I think she does, because on day 2, so that's what I need to do, is I need to create. This is why men and women are different, because of what happens in the hospital with the nurses, with the moms and the grandmothers. And this is how they train little girls, and this is how they train little boys. And men are just out working. They don't think they ought to, like, you got to protect your son in the hospital. I'm just saying, you just do.
Right.
And so like a baby, it's not about the baby, it's about the mom. So women are experts in this. What's sad to me is I'm seeing more men become experts in this. And that's sad. So what's the vaccination for entitlement? It's thankfulness. What's the vaccination for self-righteousness? It's humility. What's the vaccination for victimhood? It's taking ownership. And it's like, I mean, when I go play pickleball, who's playing pickleball? Mostly it's women. When I go work out at Lifetime Fitness, who's at Lifetime Fitness in the middle of the day? It's women. Like when we went to a marriage enrichment seminar and the wife got up, the husband did 80-90% of the speaking, but the wife got up and she said, women are fortunate. They have lots of options. Men, they have 2 options in life, and that's it. You work or you go to prison.
That's
So,
true.
yeah. So you're different than other women, tremendously different. So again, I'm trying to prepare you not to laugh. You probably will. And so like when Kevin said I'd make a great comedian, so good wives are supposed to support their husbands, right?
Sure.
That didn't sound real convincing.
No, good wives are supposed to support their husbands.
Yeah,
Okay.
be supportive of them. Like,
Oh, yeah, that way. Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah, so they're supposed to be supportive of them. Like if a husband dreams of doing something,
By all means. Yes.
right? And and so and a husband's not just a piece of meat, right?
No.
But they are. They're just a
Why?
piece of meat. Because that what's happened on the third day, the third hour, the nurse comes in to me and says, Mark, you need to understand this as a little boy, you're just a piece of meat.
I want to know what hospital you were born at.
No, it's across the board. All hospitals do this, even if you have a home birth, but nobody will tell you. And the women, they don't even know they're doing it. Like here, like I don't know if I'll cry here. Have you seen this video?
Which one is it?
Let me go ahead and
That's not the right one. Let me see if my computer still works. It was kind of low on battery.
I can't hide myself. I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
expect you
That
to
one.
understand.
you saw this one?
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like so Kevin King says, Mark, well, go back to like I'm working 50, 60 hours a week, which is nothing for me. I can work 100 hours, 110 hours and provide for my family. And we have 7 kids. We have a new house and nice house. And then 9/11 happens, blows the whole thing up. And I'm like, synergy's going down and going down hard. And we get into debt. I'm like, man, I gotta, I don't know. I may, we may have to go ahead and we may have to, sell the house and get us, a smaller one or a big, smaller yard. Like we don't need as big as nice a house and yard as what we have. So I go ahead and call a family meeting with Rosanna and the 7 kids. And I said, hey, things are rough and dad's trying to turn it around, but I don't know that I can. And so we have 3 options, family. We can, sell the house and get a smaller one. We can go ahead and all the kids, like we had 5 kids in the previous house. Before that, we had 5 kids in a 3-bedroom ranch house. We moved to this big house where they pretty much have their own rooms. And what do? They want to all sleep in the same room together. Just so we didn't need that big of a house. It's just weird. And so I go ahead and say, so one is we can sell the house. 2 is you kids, you got your teenagers, and so you could help dad more. You're helping dad some, but if you guys can come in and help dad with some of the lower end stuff, if you guys can help dad with some of the lower end stuff, then I can work in higher. So you guys could come in and help dad more than you are now. So that's option 2. You kids slide in, help me so I can focus on higher dollar productive activity. Or the third option, dad just bumps it up to 100, 110 hours a week. And so like pastors say what? They say, oh, your family, your wife they don't want the nice, like we weren't going to go homeless. Like we'd be in not a 3-bedroom ranch. I mean, we didn't need that big of a house. Huge. Like we didn't need that big. And so the pastors are like, well, they want you. So my family, I thought this is an interesting experiment. Are the pastors right? Do they want me? Does my wife and kids want me, or do they want the big home? And guess which option they chose, Cheryl?
I don't know.
They chose to sell the home. Rosanna's like, we can sell the house. The kids are like, Dad, we can sell the house.
Good.
Right? The pastors are right. But because I had absorbed my sister in the womb, I knew that there was I sensed there was some sneakiness going on with my wife and my kids. I'm like, just so you guys know, the market's really good. We could probably put it up for sale. We could probably sell it. We could probably sell it in a month or two. And all of them, my wife and my kids, all of them simultaneously said, "What?" I said, "Yeah." And they're like, "Well, we thought it was going to take like a year to sell the home, and by then you'd have turned everything around."
Mm.
Little sneaky buggers. This is what they teach women, girls. Like, this is what they teach boys, in the hospital, and this is what they teach girls. It's totally different. Like, pretend that you really love your husband and care for him, but make him think that. That way he'll work harder. So I'm like, no, that's not how it works in the real world, wife and kids. This is not how it works. And they're like, "Well, Dad," so they came up with a fourth option. I didn't give them 4 options. I gave them 3. And they came up with a fourth option. "We'll help Mom. We'll help Mom. Mom's not the one that needs help. Dad's the one that needs help. He's the one that's drowning. We'll help Mom." Like, well, that wasn't an option. Dad's drowning. Like, Dad's going, "Yeah, it's okay." And Rosanna jumps in right in there, and she jumps in. She's like, "Yeah, if you need to work 110 hours a week, it's okay. The kids will help me." Like, what? Like, what? Like, let's just say what? See, you're laughing. Like, you're laughing, and it's okay because my feelings don't matter.
No, I'm laughing because you're right. That's how it works. That's why I'm laughing, Mark. I'm not laughing at you. I mean, I can see that happen on that way they can still get their own way. And they thought they came up with a good idea. It's what kids do.
But my wife was part of that conspiracy.
Sure.
And so I remember immediately thinking, so I was probably in my mid 30s. I remember immediately my thought. I felt really good. Really, really good. And then I felt like a piece of meat.
Okay.
Like, I just feel like a piece of meat. I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm glad I can provide, and I don't mind working, 110 hours a week, which I did.
Mm-hmm.
And so Christians and pastors, they don't even listen to this stuff because they can't handle it. It's like, it's not supposed to happen. I'm like, but it does happen. This is the reality of life. You guys live in your ivory towers. You don't, like, in God, I'm like, there's no way God's going to reward this. There's no way God's going to go ahead and bail us out. I'm like, even if I work 110 hours a week, I don't think I can turn this around. This ship is going down.
Right.
And God did, or he allowed me to do it. I don't know. Like, I did the work and all of a sudden turned everything around. We didn't lose the house and everything got turned around. And I'm like, I don't understand that. And pastors, they don't even like to hear, my wife doesn't like to hear this story. My kids are kind of whatever. And pastors hate it because it jams their whole senses. It's like, I don't know how to process this, Mark. And it's like, right? You don't know. That's why. So it's like, so nobody knows how to process that. They can't put themselves in. Here's a 35-year-old man that loves and adores his wife and loves and adores his 7 kids. Like, he'll do things he doesn't want to do to go ahead and there's an option to help Dad or to go ahead and help Mom. There's not even an option to help Mom. That wasn't, but I knew, like, you know what, Mark, if that's what they want to do, that's what Rosanna, you know what, you just suck it up, Buttercup, and just do it. And you can't feel anger towards your wife or your kids, and you just suck it up and you just do it. You just do. This is what being a man is about. And so Kevin King says, Mark, you should be a, comedian. Like, you have all of the capabilities to be a comedian. Like, you're like, well, I don't understand. He's like, you see things other people don't see, and you're willing to say it. I'm like, okay. So, like, so again, don't laugh because it's traumatic for me. Like, this is trauma. Like, when women say there's trauma, like, I broke my fingernails. So it's weird. It's just weird. Like my mom, her husband died, 55 years of marriage, and her husband dies. And she comes to Coffee Connection like a week, 2 weeks after he's died. 55 years of marriage. And this woman, Dawn, she's part of Coffee Connection, and she comes in and she's like, oh, I had such a terrible morning. I didn't have this and this my fingernails in the shower. And I'm like, are you an idiot? I didn't say it to her because I didn't know you. Like you wouldn't cover my flanks and say, my mom's right there. She's not belly aching and whining and being a victim. But this woman, she's just clueless. I mean, she's just clueless. And nobody at the table says anything. Nobody says, Dawn, what are you doing? Like, Mrs. Boersma here, she goes, her husband just died, 55 years of marriage. She's not belly aching and whining and how terrible her life. You are such a pathetic woman. Nobody did that. Well, maybe I did a little bit. I mean, I didn't crush her. I don't know, maybe challenged her. What did she do? She got up and cried and created disruption in the whole restaurant. The restaurant owner came over, said, hey, like, really? Like, you gotta be. What's that?
I said, wow.
See, this is the experiences that I've had. And like, this is why pastors don't like me, because it's like I challenge every fiber in their body. Like, this is why I ought to be a comedian. I'd have so much content on women, so much content on children, so much content on Christians, so much content on pastors. And so Kevin, he inspires me. I ought to be a comedian. And, we're doing pretty good. And so I would be able to be, we wouldn't put our house at risk. Like if I changed occupations and became a comedian.
Right.
And so I say to my wife, I say, hey, Kevin said this and this. And I think that, I wonder if I ought to be a comedian. What would a good wife do?
I don't know.
Really? See, I think you do. See, I think that's on day 4 of being I think the nurse came up to you when you were 4 days old and said, Cheryl, when you know the answer and it makes women look bad, just pretend that you don't know the answer. I think that's what they did on day 4. It just taught you as a woman.
Okay, then I'll answer the question.
Okay. Because you believe in being honest.
Yep.
But women protect other women. They hunt like wolves. Men are like, you're alone. Like men won't bail out men. You go ahead and pick on a man in front of a whole bunch of women and nobody will protect that man. Nobody will protect that man. That man is alone. You go ahead and pick on a woman in front of other women and all the women will go ahead and they'll descend on you and destroy you. It's just how it works. That's day 3 of, being a woman. You protect, you don't call out women for what their stuff is. You protect them. So I'm sorry, go ahead. So a good wife, what a good wife would do. If a husband says, hey, maybe I ought to be a comedian, what would a good wife do?
I don't know if it's a good wife, but I would say, okay, try it.
Well,
if that's what you want to do, if that's your dream, then I want to support it. That's my thing.
Right. A good wife would go and say, wow, it's awesome. Like, that's what I'm supposed to do when Rosanna gets a new flower or a new something. I'm supposed to say, holy cow, that is amazing. Like, I've got to go ahead. That is the coolest flower. Where'd you get it? What'd you pay for it? Oh my goodness. Like, that's what I need to do.
No, you don't need to.
Well, no, I do.
Okay.
That's what they taught me on day 5. These nurses, and so I'm telling Marla on how men's feelings don't matter. Merle, who's, 17 years old. I look at him, he looks at me, he laughs, he says, oh no, men's feelings don't matter. He already knows that at the age of 17, his feelings don't matter. It's so hilarious. It's so funny where women go ahead and say, my husband doesn't talk to me. It's like, do you know why? Because I can tell you why he doesn't talk to you. My husband doesn't share his feelings. Do you know why? Because I can tell you. Because anytime he shares his feelings, you're going to share your feelings, and your feelings are more important than his feelings. And your feelings about anything is crazy. That's why he won't share his feelings, because your feelings are always more potent, more powerful. So he just doesn't want to deal with it. So he just doesn't share his feelings.
Right.
So that's what a good wife would do. She'd be an encourager. What did Rosanna do? She laughed. She laughed and she said, you need to keep your day job.
Oh, wow.
So fortunately, because I have a wife and 4 daughters, I've learned how to translate that into, language. This is not anything the nurses taught me.
Uh-huh.
So because she laughed, I'm like, oh, she's reinforcing me as a comedian. She's laughing. Like, okay, I can even make my wife laugh. Even after 40 years, she's always laughing around me. Because Jacqueline Graysek, she worked for us. She was an intern, and her husband, she was the only daughter, and her dad made her fiance sign an agreement, no returns.
Oh,
She
okay.
was a sassy one. I could see why. I probably should have done that with some of my daughters. Maybe my sons too. Anyways, but she said her dad taught her the way to a man's heart. It's not through food and it's not through sex. It's through laughter. He said, if you can make a man laugh, you'll win his heart. I'm like, whoa, that's some powerful stuff.
Wow, yeah. I never heard that.
No, I hadn't either. And the truth is, it's the same thing. It's the same thing for a woman. Like, there was a woman I was talking to about her mood. She said, and so I asked her frequently. It's not one of my family members, but it's a young woman. And she says, if I'm a 7 or better, you can be around me. But if I'm a 3, you don't want to be around me. I said, oh, you want to be around me? She's like, I don't, yeah, no. I said, no, if you're a 3, because I can get her laughing.
Uh-huh.
So it's the same thing with not only with a man, if you can get him laughing, but with a woman too. If you can get her laughing, oh, she just adores you.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I don't know if you feel better, but man, I feel a lot better.
Okay, that's good.
Anything you wanted to accomplish?
No, I just want to have a restful day, I guess.
Sorry if I messed that up.
No, you didn't. You didn't.
You inspired me on a new book.
What's that?
I'm not sure the title.
So what are you going to write about?
It's about how men are trained at the hospital. The first hour they're born, and then the second hour, how the nurses come in and train.
Okay.
And then boys, this is how the nurses come in and train. Like nurses and teachers, they're funny, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't ever go ahead and, you can't ever have comedy about, you can't have comedy about women, nurse, or teachers. Because they're predominantly, female oriented. And so you can't have jokes about women, except if you have social autism. Because women are supposed to go ahead, and when somebody has a disability, a woman's supposed to go ahead and have a heart for that person. It's just like the female thing to do.
Okay.
But no women have a heart for my social autism. So you
Why
could
not?
be, because they think they don't want to hear the truth. And so the socially autistic man will tell women the truth. And so they want to diminish, they want to dismiss your disability and say you don't have a disability, you know. So they'll make fun of you and say something's wrong with you. Mark, there's something wrong with you. You're off, you're this. They'll say things like, my kids did when they were growing up, and they're like, Dad, there's a fine line between genius and insanity. And you crossed that line a long time ago. I'm sure they were talking about I was a genius, but I didn't bother to ask. I just assumed, yeah, I'm sure they're being nice to their father because their mother is nice to their father.
Right.
And so there's something wrong with me, Cheryl. To me, it seems very apparent. Like, it seems very apparent. Mark, you're very different than most men.
You are different, but
What's that?
you are different, but not in a bad way.
See, most people think of me, my difference, as being a bad way.
No.
So women are fearful of me. Big time. Big time. Like Maggie Todd, bless her little heart. Like, she went ahead and she was, I was probably, I don't know, in my 30s, and we were mid 30s. And, my dad was a pastor, and we had like a church of 120, 130 people. So it's a small church everybody knew. And Rich Todd and Maggie Todd, they started attending the church. And Maggie Todd, she didn't like me.
Okay.
I could just feel it. I'm like, yep, she doesn't like me. She does not like me. And so 5 years after they started attending, her husband, he liked me a lot. I mean, that's not that big a deal because he liked everybody. He's one of those guys, he likes everybody. But like, out of respect for her and the marriage, I didn't want to create any disruption. I just kind of not avoided him, but I didn't develop any type of hi and Rich and blah, blah, blah. And
Yeah.
so, because I don't want to disrupt the marriage, so I'm being considerate and stuff. And about 5 years after they were joining, they came over to the house, and Maggie's sitting at the table, and she's like, Mark, I don't know if you knew this, but I've never liked you. Yeah, that's what I did. I'm like, that's so cool, Maggie. I kind of had that sense, but I never knew why. She's like, you are the most intense person I've ever met in my life. And I'm like, okay.
Like you?
What's that?
And that made her not like you?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't ever remember being intense around you in the last 5 years, Maggie. And she's like, do you remember the first time we met? And I'm like, I apologize. I do not. She says, I was at the front of the church. You were at the back of the church and you walked in. I'm like, okay. Was I yelling, or I knew I wasn't swearing because I don't swear. I mean, I didn't back then. Now I sometimes do. I selectively do it just to go ahead and put a little bit of spice into something. But the comedian last night, he was raised liberally because he said we could only say, gosh or darn. Our family, you couldn't say gosh or darn or gee or any of that kind of stuff. Man, you get deep trouble for that. Any I mean, no, like, it was bad. Anyways, so I'm like, yeah, sorry, I don't remember. And she's like, well, yeah, you walked in. I said, was I yelling or what? She's like, no, you just walked in.
Okay.
That's what I'm like. I'm like, so what does that do to a man when a woman says that to him?
I would say put you on edge. Like, okay, what does that mean?
Well, it was clear to me what it meant. It meant that my very presence,
Right.
me just being somewhere around people, especially Christians, like she's a fine Christian woman. Her husband went on to try to be a pastor, went to seminary, and he was going to be a missionary to the Mormons. And so, so very godly, obviously. So here's a very godly woman that's just, she sees me. I'm not, all I'm doing is there. I'm just present, and she doesn't like me. And she got up when Dale Williams and my brother Ken kicked me out of the church. And she got up like, women aren't supposed to talk in the church at Baptist. Like, you're not, like, women aren't supposed to, like men, they're not supposed to lead. They're not supposed to be pastors. They're supposed to be, so very conservative. But she got up and holy cow, she just started shaking in the, like, and that was okay. Like, none of the men, then there's this Tiffany, bless her heart. She was 16 years old, 16-year-old girl, Tiffany Johnson, sweetest little thing in the world. She got up and spoke, and I'm like, you're 16. Like, maybe she was 17. I don't know. She was in that age. I'm like, I didn't say anything because I didn't know you. I didn't, just be honest. I'm thinking, shut up and sit down. This is so far above your pay grade, girl. Like,
Right.
What are you thinking? Do you have no idea that I have a memory? Like, see, this is why you never mess with a comedian or, an author.
Okay.
This is some of my stuff. This is what Marla was saying about stuff. Because my stuff is I get up on stage and, man, I'll go ahead and name names. Like, I'll name names like Dale Williams, Ken Boersma, Vern Boersma, Dan Boersma. I'll start naming names on the stage and become renowned and all of these, like, holy cow. This is why people fear me, and they should. Like, you should have a positive fear. Like, it's like you don't mess with a comedian. You just don't. Maybe that's what my wife was like. I don't want him being a comedian because, man, the stories he could tell. Like, anything else you got?
Nope.
Well, this has been, I'm sure, I don't even know where we're going to put it in which section. Like, so this is what it is. This is what it is. So on comedy, like God's blessed us where, so I want to earn $100,000 based on comedy.
Okay.
To kind of teach my wife a lesson. Like, your husband, sweetheart, he's awesome. If he wants to be a comedian, he could support himself on comedy.
Uh-huh.
And so this right here has, so I've thought about this for, I don't know, 10, 15 years about how am I going to do this? And you've inspired me today by being on this.
Good.
Yeah. There might be some people that are not going to be happy with you.
With me.
Yeah.
Inspire you to be a comedian.
Uh-huh.
All right. That's fine.
What you do is you make my stuff, you multiply it. Like, my stuff becomes more powerful. And so, I'm just tired of stupid people. I'm just tired. I'm just tired of them. I'm 60 years old, tired of stupid people. Gonna call them out, like, by name. So, thank you. It's all come together. Wow, this is good stuff. So if you're listening to the rebroadcast and you want to contribute, all the money you contribute goes to Worthwhile Cause, Life Masteries Institute, and Stopping Child Trafficking, and veterans, and kids at risk, and moms that want to gain freedom, economic freedom from men, and you know, like all kinds of PTSD and preventing suicide, like all of that, like every dollar you contribute, goes to a very worthwhile causes. So, and if you have questions, you can on this here website, you can go ahead and podcast website, you can go ahead and contribute. If it's $1, like just do $1, like, just do $1. And then you can comment on it, what you thought was funny, what you didn't think was funny. Like before I go on stage and, 1,500 or 15,000, do a whole stadium of it. Because the comedy, I want it to have a purpose. I don't want just people to be like, walk away and they're funny. Yeah, it's funny. And they go from one addiction to another addiction to another addiction. I want it to be where people are thoughtful. See, this is what I think women are looking for. They're looking for the honest. Nobody's being honest with them. Their dads weren't honest. Their doctors weren't honest. Nobody's honest with them. The pastors aren't. Nobody's honest with women. They're just not. And I understand.
Right.
And we're going to put a stop to that, Cheryl and I. Be honest with women. So, so it's just going to help. It's just going to help a lot. So, if you have any questions, connect with the individual who invited you to participate in today's session, or you can call toll free 888-230-2300 outside the U.S. 630-393-9909. Always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.